Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Comic Review. My name is Eric, and today we're going to get into the next chapter of Marvel's big blockbuster summer event. That's right, today we're going to see what is going on in the mind of Tony Stark with Civil War II, number 2. So, Civil War II, number 2, does pick up, for the most part, where the last issue left off. At the end of issue number 1, Tony left the Triskelion. You don't know where he's going, however safe that was. He was going to New Atlan. Again, that's one of those things where you read these comics for years and years and years, you never get the pronunciation because no one says them out loud anywhere. So I'm gonna go with Tillan for right now. So but Tony goes there. He sneaks into Ulysses' bedroom in the middle of the night. He's in like a stealth mode, so the other Inhumans don't know that he's there supposedly right now, with the intent of kidnapping Ulysses. He does encounter Medusa while he is in the castle, and they get into a confrontation after diplomacy has essentially failed. Medusa is talking about Tony invading her kingdom, and Tony just at this point does not care. His best friend is dead. He wants answers. He wants to basically understand why this death had to occur. So they get into a confrontation. Medusa tries to basically invade Tony's suit with her hair, because she's got that weird Medusa hair. That's why she's called Medusa. But Tony is able to stop her through electrical feedback through the hair. She gets knocked out. Tony, allegedly, fights the other Inhumans in the fortress to a standstill for the most part. If by standstill you mean his armor explodes. You find out that Tony sent in a robot double at that point to fight the Inhumans while he actually made his way out with Ulysses. Karnak and Medusa head over to Stark Tower to confront Stark. For whatever reason, they think he is there. They are confronted at Stark Tower by Carol, the Ultimates, as well as the all-new, all-different Avengers, just trying to find a way of keeping the peace at this point. Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, she's trying to make sure that the connection between the superhero community and the Inhumans remains intact, despite the fact that Medusa believes that Carol just let Tony get away with Ulysses. So that's kind of where we're at with that. There's some tensions growing between the superhumans and the Inhumans. I'm going to pause this right here just to address something with the tie-ins to this book. And I'll get into this more later at the end of the video when the recap is over, but I'm probably not going to be getting the majority of the tie-ins to Civil War. There's just way too many, especially for me to cover on this channel with everything I have going on. But this portion of the story is either going to be expanded on or better explained in Uncanny Inhumans number 11. That book is supposed to, I believe, be a direct result of Stark's assault on the Inhumans at the beginning of this book. So this is kind of one reason why I'm not fully going to be getting all the tie-ins, because I feel like in this case Uncanny Inhumans is just going to be covering and expanding on this little portion of the story. I mean, we only get like one real page or so of the assault on Stark Tower, so I'm wondering if there's going to be an even bigger assault on the tower that's going to be shown in Uncanny Inhumans. So I do get Uncanny Inhumans, but as far as reviewing it, I probably won't be doing it on this channel, just because unless there's something else in that story, it's probably going to be redundant story beats to the main book. So Tony brings Ulysses to his lair or something. You actually don't, I think you ever see where it is, but he's basically trying to coax Ulysses into using his powers, trying to study them, figure out what they are. There's a lot of good dialogue between Stark and Ulysses during this scene. Just confirms more of, I believe, Brian Michael Bendis gets how to write Tony, especially if you're someone more familiar with the Tony Stark from the movies. There's a lot of Robert Downey Jr. in this portrayal of Tony Stark in this book, as well as the main Invincible Iron Man series. So if you're a fan of the movie version of Tony Stark, I would definitely recommend picking this book up, as well as there's Invincible Iron Man, International Iron Man, I believe that's what the other one's called. All three of these books written by Brian Michael Bendis. So again, if you're a fan of the Robert Downey Jr. portrayal of Tony Stark, definitely pick these books up. So Tony goes over more of Ulysses, trying to figure out what's causing his powers. Are his visions based on his upbringing? Are they based on his own bias towards race, religion, sexual orientation, any of that kind of stuff? Things that Ulysses didn't even think about when wondering about his own powers. Stark's just trying to figure out if these things affect Ulysses' visions at all. And so we don't really get an answer to this, because at this point is when the Ultimates and the all-new All Different Avengers crash into Tony's lab. Tony does say right before the crash in that he did make a digital copy of Ulysses' brain. He's going to figure it out, and then he tells Ulysses to act like we're having fun, as though, you know, they're just going out and having a beer. So I did like little jokey quips in this book throughout. Later on, when he's talking about like the fact they didn't torture him, Ulysses is like, "Yes, he did torture me," and Tony's like, just a little bit, just little funny little lines that give you a little bit of chuckle throughout this book, in the midst of this very tense situation that essentially Tony's causing. Tony starts going with his more not holier than thou attitude about the situation, but basically it seems like he at this point is the only one on the protect the future side. It doesn't seem like anybody else, even the various preview art showed Sam Wilson on, I think, Tony's side, and none of those people here. Basically, Tony is on his own on the protect the future side. Everyone else is on the change the future side of Carol, and I don't know if that was the way it's supposed to be by design, or it just happened to be how the story progressed. But as of right now, he's a man alone in this whole thing, while he's giving his grandiose speech about, the person who died could have been Carol, could have been Sam Wilson. He was surprised it wasn't Clint Barton. Sorry, Clint. At this point, Ulysses has another vision of the future. The vision Ulysses sees is of the Hulk rampaging seemingly through New York, most likely, but you just see the corpses of all the other superheroes on the ground, and especially Tony ripped in half by the Hulk. So all we see in this point is the vision that the Hulk is the one to kill all the heroes in the Marvel Universe. When we get to the next page, and Ulysses' vision ends, we actually see that somehow, I don't know if it had to do with just his own powers growing or something that Tony did, but we find out that he's actually able to project the visions to others. So everyone in the room there, Carol, Tony, everyone, saw the vision that Ulysses had of the Hulk destroying or killing everyone in the Marvel Universe, or at least killing most of the main heroes, including Tony. The actual issue ends with Bruce Banner in a laboratory somewhere in Utah doing some research on something, and Carol coming to visit him, and that's essentially where we end the book. She's just there. She looks pretty pissed off, pretty determined. So that's kind of where we're left at the end of that book. I don't know if now Tony's jumping over to the change side, but we'll have to see in issue number 3. I think there is supposed to be another major death. There's supposed to be multiple. There's supposed to be another major death coming up in this series. Not sure if it's going to be in issue 3 or not, but we'll have to see. Overall, I enjoyed this issue. I liked the little bits of comedy in the issue, not overshadowed, but the book was pretty good with, it was light where it needed to be light, and it was very dark where it needed to be dark. The artwork was great. Bendis is doing a really good job with the writing here. So overall, I'm enjoying this book. I'd probably give ranking probably about 8 or 9 out of 10 on this issue overall. So if you can find it, I would encourage all of you to go out and check out this book. This series is so far doing really well. There is a new Marvel initiative, another Marvel Now initiative going to be coming out of this, essentially. I really hope we don't have a bunch of relaunches. I like to see numbers grow past 20 on issue numbers, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes. If you are interested in collecting all of the various tie-ins that came out, I believe this week, the only extra one I personally picked up was X-Men #1, the Civil War miniseries. Haven't read it yet as of this recording. This past week, between My daughter's birthday was this week, as well as the Father's Day weekend in there. I've been very behind on reading comics. So like I said, I haven't read the issue yet, but Civil War X-Men came out this week. Number 1, dealing with Magneto, I guess, wanting to use Ulysses to try to help the mutant race. So we'll see how that one goes. And then International Iron Man number 4 was part of this crossover, as well as Deadpool number 14. And with a crossover like this, you're just going to have a lot of books that are just interacting. Kind of like with Standoff. The only important issues to me in the Standoff series were the 2 bookend issues and then the issues of Captain America, Sam Wilson. The Avengers tie-ins that went with that, to me, serve very little, if any, purpose to that storyline. That's kind of how I'm viewing books like Miss Marvel and Nova, books like that. I mean, in August we have 38, I believe. It's some number in the 30s somewhere, but I believe it's 38, because that's the number that's popping in my head. But we have 38 tie-ins to Civil War in August alone. That's counting whatever issues. I don't know if there's 2 issues that coming out that month or 1 issue, but there's over 30 tie-ins to that series. It would be not impossible, but it would just be, I feel like that's a little bit of overkill with an event like this. I realize writers want to get in on putting in their viewpoint on the action going on, but for the most part, like for me, unless it's a series I'm already reading, I'm not going to be reading most of the tie-ins. I think the only books I'm going to add that I don't get already is probably the Captain Marvel book, to be honest. Everything else, I'll either wait for the trade, or if I find out later on that it was important, I'll get it digitally if I can't find it in the comic book store. I will say probably Totally Awesome Hulk, which probably comes out this week, probably be important to the story. I don't know, that's going to be like an expanded conversation between Carol and Bruce. We'll find out. Also note here, I want to say that as far as the Civil War series and the coverage I'm going to be doing, I will most likely be doing a lot of coverage on the main book, the main miniseries, doing all those issues. The tie-ins, however, I probably will not be doing separate videos for. If I do, it's going to be a roundup style one, especially because I'm not going to be getting all the tie-ins myself, just because of time to read them, as well as the cost of getting that many just subsequent issues. Unless there's like something I find that is vastly important to the story, most likely I'm not going to be covering those issues. So I just want to let people know that if you're a fan of the channel, fan of the show, my review series on Civil War is going to be contained to the main Civil War miniseries. So let me know what you guys thought of the issue. Are you intrigued by the fact that the Hulk is going to be the one to kill the Marvel Universe? Are you surprised by the fact that the Hulk is going to be the one to kill the Marvel Universe? Who do you think the next major death in this series is going to be? Do you think it's Iron Man, like a lot of various news sites and whatever are speculating on? Do you think he is going to be the one, quote unquote, fallen in this series? I know there's going to be a one-shot called The Fallen, and another one-shot called The Accused, which I believe the ordering on those is tied to one of the Iron Man books as well as one of the Spider-Man books. So do you think Iron Man is going to fall during this, and there's not going to be a Tony Stark Iron Man in the Marvel Universe? Let me know your take on this book in the comments below. And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning into the comic review today. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Come out with various reviews on both Marvel and DC every week. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel to see more. And with that said, I will see you guys in the next review. Later.